Today we'll do another blank together, and this blank is herbal. You can find this blank when you go to EpiUni. Let me read for you guys a couple of lines, and then we'll try to understand what is the context of this paragraph before ever attempting blanks. A herbal is a book of plants describing their appearance, their properties, and how they may be used for preparing ointments and medicines. The medical use of plants is dash on fragments of papyrus and clay tablets from ancient Egypt, Samaria and China that date back 5,000 years but document traditions far older still. Let's try to understand what this paragraph is about. The paragraph explores the historical development of herbal medicines, right? Highlighting ancient documentation, translations, and the lasting influence of key herbal texts on both Christian and Islamic medical traditions. Make sense? Now let's try to find out the right option for the blanks. As you all knows that we are doing today reading fill in the blanks, not reading and writing fill in the blanks. That's why we are having drag and drop options, right? In reading fill in the blanks, we always have drag and drop options, not drop down menu, right? So make sure that you know the difference between both fill in the blanks. One fill in the blank in your reading section in this is called reading and writing fill in the blanks, which is having drop down menu. Today we are doing reading fill in the blanks, which is having drag and drop fill in the blanks options, right? So drag and drop means we do have the options below, which we need to pick, drag it and drop on the blank, right? Hope you understand this. Now let's start finding the right option. First of all, let's try to understand what is this sentence tone in which we are having a first blank. The medical use of plants is dash. This tone, we don't have subject who is doing the activity or is performing the activity. That's why we say that it is a passive voice. So because of the passive voice, when you have is, you always go with third form of the verb. We do have options prescribed, translated, recorded, initiated, removed, discovered, right? So third form of the verb. So all of these verbs can fit in this blank. But let's try to find out which one is the right option. The medical use of plants is dash on fragments, right? So let's try to understand together. The right option for this blank is recorded. Let me explain you why I have selected this option, because it means documented or written down, right? You're recording something. The medical use of plants has been written or preserved in historical texts. Make sense? Making this option grammatically correct. What grammar rule says? Grammar rule says that recorded is a past participle which refers to information stored for future reference. Make sense? Now let's understand with some examples. Ancient healing techniques were recorded in scrolls. Or we could say his findings were recorded in a scientific journal. Definitely question comes in your mind that why we are not selecting prescribed, translated, initiated, right? If we understand the prescribed, what does this mean? Right? Prescribed means recommended as treatment, but the sentence refers to documentation. Make sense? Documentation. What about initiated? Right? Initiated means started, but the sentence discusses already existing records, not a correct option. Then we do have translated. So translated refers to changing language, which doesn't fit the context of documentation, right? So the only option we are having recorded is a right option for the first blank. Next, we do have a herbal that was dash into Latin and Arabic. So the Greek physician who wrote a herbal that was dash into Latin and Arabic. Now we are having languages here, and we do have option translated, which relates to the languages. Make sense? So we do have translated for the second blank. So second blank, we have chosen translated because it refers to changing the text into different languages, into Latin and Arabic. Grammatically translated describes the action of converting text from one language to another, makes it more clear. For example, the book was translated into French and Spanish. We'll see in another example where we can say ancient manuscripts were translated into different languages for study. Make sense? Let's move to the next one. So the next one, we are having an illustrated manuscript copy of text made in Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, dash from the 6th century. The correct option here, we do have survives. Why we selected survives here? Because it means the manuscript, right? Because it means the manuscript still exists today despite being old. So it is still exists. If we understand survives meaning in grammar rule, so survives is a present tense, right? Indicating continued existence. Makes sense. For example, only a few ancient texts survive from that era. The castle survives despite centuries of conflict. Make sense? So why we're not choosing removed, discovered, and suffers? Removed means taken away, but the sentence discusses an existing manuscript, right? So it is not a right option. Then we move to discovered. Discovered means found, but the sentence is not about finding anything, it's about an existing document. Suffers means experiencing damage or hardship, which doesn't fit the meaning of surviving, right? So the right option is survives. Also, if you try to understand an illustrated manuscript copy of the text, right? So we do have a subject. That's why we are using present tense. Make sense for you guys? Okay, let's move to the fourth blank. The pills and potions dash by physicians. So pills and potions. Let's see which option is correct. Prescribed is the right option. Why prescribed is the right option? Because physicians recommend medications. Let's move to the next one. They provided valuable information for apothecaries whose job was to make the pills and potions dash by physicians, right? Now, do you know about the apothecaries? What does apothecaries means? Let me just quickly tell you what this means. Apothecary is a historical term for medical professional, right? Who prepared and sold medicines, similar to today's pharmacists. Make sense? Right. So now, as you know that apothecaries in this sentence, the right option is prescribed. Why prescribed is the best choice? Because physicians recommend medications, which apothecaries then prepare, right? Pharmacists. According to the grammar, prescribed is used to describe medicines that doctors recommend. Make sense? For example, the doctor prescribed antibiotics for the infection. Second example, her medication was prescribed by a specialist. Alright, so we completed this paragraph having right options selected, recorded, translated, survives, prescribed.